Well, despite Democratic talking points, voters are giving President Trump the credit for our booming economy, according to a new Fox News poll. You see it right there on your screen. Meantime, Senator Bernie Sanders is climbing among 2020 Democrats, jumping 9 points ahead of Joe Biden in Iowa in a brand new Emerson poll. So, how would these two candidates with totally different economic messages match up in a hypothetical November contest? Here to debate, Terry Schilling, Executive Director of American Principles Project, and attorney and Democratic strategist Robert Patillo. Robert, I'm going to begin with you. You heard those stats right there. If there's a matchup between Sanders and Trump, how does Sanders win when the economy right now is doing so well?
Well, let's understand, Trump and Sanders are very much like a forced dyad. They draw power from each other. So the way that Sanders wins is by articulating the fact that our debt has gone up $3 trillion in the last 3 years. We're $23 trillion in debt, running a $1 trillion year-over-year deficit, and that money is primarily going to the 1% of the form of that $1.5 trillion tax cut. And at the same time that we're cutting taxes for millionaires and billionaires, we are seeing proposals to cut SNAP benefits, to cut TANF benefits, to cut social programs. President Trump has even said he would be willing to cut Social Security and Medicare recently. So let's understand that by articulating to the American people that their money is their deficit is going to support the 1%, that is how you rally them around an economic message that will benefit all Americans, not just the top 1%.
Terry, Robert raises an interesting point talking about the debt and deficit issue. That is an issue. Granted, it's not all President Trump's fault. It goes back multiple administrations. My question for you is, does the regular American that is seeing betterment to their bottom line really care when they hit the voting booth in November of 2020 about the debt and deficit, which, quite frankly, for most of their adult lives has been pretty much out of whack?
Yeah, look, I think they should care. However, when it comes down to it, what voters are going to care about is their bottom line and how their incomes have increased. And what we've seen in the first 3 years of President Trump's presidency is that the average American household has seen an increase of $5,000 in their annual income. And it's actually $7,000 if you add in those tax cuts that President Trump passed earlier this year. I think how this is going to play out, a general election matchup between President Trump and Bernie Sanders. You know, remember back last year when Bernie Sanders tried to punch that speed bag and the speed bag popped back and almost knocked him on his butt? Well, that's how this is going to end up. He can talk about the programs, but voters want economic opportunity, and they look at these programs that he wants to expand and grow, and they know that they're going to have to pay that back in the form of taxes.
Gentlemen, we've talked about Bernie Sanders, but a number of the other 2020 candidates actually seem pretty confident that they can take on Donald Trump when it comes to the economy. Take a listen to this, and then we'll ask you some questions on the back end.
Any Democrat who expects to beat him on the debate stage or at the polls has got to beat him on the economy.
The economy. I can hardly wait to have that debate with him.
I am ready to take on this president on the economy.
Create an economy and create a government that works for all of us.
Busy news day. Got to keep you to 15 seconds each. Robert, do you think the Democrats can win this?
Oh, absolutely. That is the strongest messaging point. Remember, President Clinton left us with a balanced budget. President Trump said he will balance the U.S. budget again in 8 years. Instead, he's ballooned the deficit. That is what the American people understand, that you cannot put everything on the credit card. You have to pay it back at some point.
Terry, is that confidence you heard in that soundbite justified?
No, not at all. Look, these are socialists. They're talking about single-payer health care that's going to expand our deficit by tens of trillions of dollars every year. It's kind of crazy to talk about fiscal responsibility. Look, voters care about the wage growth. They care about the job and economic opportunity that President Trump's offering, and that's what's going to make the difference here.
Gentlemen, great debate. Thanks for being time conscious as well. We appreciate it. Terry and Robert. Have a great day.